Hello, everybody. This is the Jittery Goat YouTube channel, and my name is Byron Lehman. And I also have a website. It's a Jittery Goat also at jitteryg.com, and that's where you'll find my short stories, and you'll also find links to my books on Amazon. So if you have an opportunity, stop by and check it out. This morning's video, or it's still morning here anyway, is about a short story that I wrote several years ago. It's called The Squirrel Hunter. And it's really based upon a man that I know. And so as I explain him, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the man I know, but also in previous videos, I've kind of explained the backstory of some of the people I know that inspired the stories, but I'd certainly like to go just a little bit deeper, a few more layers deeper into a lot of other things, because when reviewing those videos, I thought to myself, I could have done more to explain a little bit more about the stories and so forth, and what they meant to me, and I think what they should mean to the reader too. So this story, The Squirrel Hunter, it's about a man I know, and he's a well-intentioned guy. He really is, and he's likable, but he has this ability. It has nothing to do so much with the story, but just to let you know a little bit about his personality. He always manages to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. As an example, he's just going up to a woman and saying, "Yeah, it seems to me like you're putting on a little bit of weight, and are you pregnant?" And of course, she's not. And so he says things like that. He says things like that a lot. He always finds himself in trouble. He can be argumentative, and sometimes because he just doesn't think things out or see something from the other person's point of view. And he and I have had our arguments, but they're more like disagreements. They're not really heated discussions or arguments, but they're just disagreements. And invariably, I would get a phone call from him, and he'd say, "Hey, you know what? What we were talking about," he said, "I'm all wrong with that." He said, I got to thinking about it, and it started really bothering me, and I want to clear it up." And that's the kind of guy he is. And you ask him to do a favor, and he's always there. He's always, if furniture needs to be moved or something like that, he's the guy that's going to help you. And the guy has a heart as big as, well, as hard as big as a heart can get, He's a storyteller, and he likes to tell stories, and I think sometimes that people get tired of listening to him because sometimes a lot of people just aren't wired to listen to short stories or listen to stories, our listeners. And he has good stories, and I kind of see through them when he tells a story, because there's something behind him. He's an honest and moral man. And, he comes around that way. Sometimes he makes mistakes, and he thinks about it, and he always comes back, and he always comes to the right conclusion. So this is about a story that he told me, and I have to say that but it's my story, so to speak. I change it. Well, I don't change. The only thing I really change in it is that when he told me this story and when it happened, he was a single man. But in this story, I give him a wife. And the reason why I give him a wife is somebody to bounce his ideas off of and his thinking off of. So this story is pretty much the way he told it. And to go back to the man a little bit, he's the rawest of men, but yet he expresses humanity. And that's the man I know. And this story kind of pays tribute to that man, or that type of man, actually, that sometimes it's hard to know where their emotions are at, but you find out deep inside they're really a tender-hearted person. And so with men like that, and with any of us really, the smallest thing can change our heart or change our perception of things. However, with us, or like with this man, is there has to be something in that heart for something to reach it. if it's a heart of stone, nothing is going to reach it. So the conclusion this man reaches in the story, it was already there. He just needed an event or something to come along that helps him with this change of heart. And the change of heart, it's not saying anything in particular. What it's saying is just that there was a change. It's not advocating anything at all. So those things seem to come to a man. Events and stories will come to a man and latch on him or a woman and change their heart. And I use a man in this instance because sometimes they're the last to change, or they can be very stubborn. And like I said, they have to be ready for the change when it comes to. So to the writer, or really to the reader or just a listener, we might wonder sometimes, how do you develop a story like that? How does a story develop that has a message to it? And I always think if you have a good story and you write it, and you write it in a good way, the best way you can, that a meaning will come along to fit that narrative. You don't have to start out with a meaning, as long as it's a good story written with good intention, and a meaning will take hold. Sometimes you let the characters just kind of take over as you know the characters, and they'll reveal the deeper meaning of those stories as it's written. A little bit about writing, and again, this is just me. Maybe nobody will agree with me, but I think stories, good stories, are more emotion than they are style or intellect or anything else, crafting the story and so forth. And there's a lot to be said for style and intellect and craft and so forth. And those things seem to come along as a writer progresses and writes more. However, if you have a good story and you write it honestly, if the style is not exactly correct, if the punctuation or grammar isn't exactly correct, we want to make the necessary changes to make it, to make it believable and to make it readable. However, if there are minor mistakes and so forth, the reader will see the honesty in the story and forget all the other things. It's like conversations. I mean, our conversations aren't exactly perfect grammar. We make mistakes all the time, but people understand it. And so a story honestly told is better than anything else. So emotions have to come through, and hopefully that helps the reader, and I hope that it helps the writer too. Here's another thing that I've thought about too, and is some stories that people write, they're never seen by anything else, by anyone else, and they're probably very good stories. So, if you're a writer and you may be struggling to get published, or you may not want anybody to read it. It doesn't mean it's a bad story. If it's written honestly, it's a good story. If it's good, a meaning will find it. Always remember that. So the link to this story, The Squirrel Hunter, I'll put it in the comments section below. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching this video. So remember, do good stuff, read good stuff, write good stuff, and see good stuff in others. Take care.